Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. And of course, good morning to the world. Welcome, welcome. We're going to have a great show for you today. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to El Estudio with the two geniuses, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Beba.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. It is Tuesday, January the 14th, 1 minute after 6 o'clock, so we know where we are and what we're doing. Well, the what we're doing part we're not so sure about. But Jack is here, and he's got about a quarter page of wisdom, so let's go ahead and throw it to Jack.
All right. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How are you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm good. Okay. Sometimes I look at the Democratic Party and wonder, where are you? Why aren't you working to resist and disqualify some of these billionaire cabinet appointees? Have you just given up and given in to the status quo of the Republican Party and its Project 2025? I want to see a Democratic Party that is united around progressive policies and will fight to be the party that people want to be governed by. That's it.
I don't think they're asleep. I think they've got a plan. And some of these cabinet picks are just absurd. Can you believe some of this? It's like, what? Now you want to talk about, the one of the biggest criticisms of the populace is the government. Well, they're just so out of touch. They just don't know anything. They live in a bubble. How do they know how we live? Well, you're in for a big surprise because all these billionaires that are being appointed, they have no clue as to how we live. And you want to talk about being out of touch? Oh, boy, you are in for a big, rude awakening. So welcome to America 2025.
I hope you learned your lesson.
I doubt they did. But we can hope.
I don't think they did. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, let me tell you, folks, I wasn't going to start with that one but Brother Jack kind of give me the reason to start with that one. So let's go ahead and start there.
Hijacker.
The hijacker extraordinaire. But
Jack the hijacker.
Yeah, absolutely.
He always hijacks a dang show. No, actually, he is the show. Hey, folks, check this out, guys. First of all, the title of the show today is Progressives Must Take the Democratic Party, MAGA Christians Expose, and RDP condemns Democrats. That was going to be the last item, but Jack bumped it up to numero uno. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the revolving door, it's called the Revolving Door Project. They wrote a press release, and the press release was titled, The Revolving Door Project Condemns Democrats' Cowardice in the Face of Trump's Nominees. I am going to hold back on the cowardice for now because I think there actually is a purpose. But anyhow, this is what they said. They said, and it was by the executive director of the Revolving Door Project, Jeff Hauser, and he said the following. The one constant within the Democratic Party is that its leaders will inevitably default to the belief that wisdom counsels caution. That is why it is unsurprising that Democrats are only offering more than a perfunctory resistance to the few Trump nominees so brazenly off-putting that they draw nearly uniform skepticism, meaning both from Republicans and Democrats. They're both skeptical about these guys. For all the Trump nominees not accused of killing a dog or committing heinous crimes, Democrats do not seem poised to offer even a whisper of resistance, no matter how unqualified. Let me stop for a minute there from his news release. Do you remember for every single pick of consequence that Biden brought out, even though every single one of them were, in Spanish, what we call sumamente calificados. They were extraordinarily qualified. They always try to give you smoke and mirrors to look at something else because they were just simply partisan. When it comes to the people that Donald Trump selected, Hegseth, there's nothing partisan about saying this guy is completely unqualified for the job. Every organization that this guy has run, they had to redo the books. The books were in shambles. And these were small organizations, 2 small organizations that he was involved with. Not only that, but the guy was a drunk on the job, verified. Not only that, but the guy was also abusive to women, including some of the same crap that Donald Trump has gotten away with. That's who we want to put in charge of an agency that controlled the lives of more than 2 million people, actually all our lives, because he would be this defense secretary. So we have somebody whose last job was a blowhard at Fox News, lying to the American people. That's the person that we want to set up as the Secretary of Defense. I'm only talking about him as an example to what this particular organization is talking about, that Democrats are not doing their part. If we had somebody this unqualified, when I shouldn't say we, I'm a host here. If Democrats had somebody so unqualified, somebody with these types of moral deficiencies in their lives, do you think it wouldn't be something that is plastered on right-wing radio, on Fox News, and made to be bled over to the standard media, meaning the mainstream media? I mean, as you know, the right-wing stuff always bleeds over to the mainstream media, because you kind of wonder sometimes if the mainstream media has some payment from the right sometimes. Don't you think it would be a day in, day out of how unqualified this person is? Of course there would be. Yet Democrats, and the leadership specifically, has not laid the pathway to hammer this guy even before the hearing. And by the way, the hearings start today. Not hammering this guy even before the hearing. That is political malpractice. Democrats lost the election because of political malpractice. Yes, I've mentioned about the sexism and racism, because you don't have an economy that, under the current tenets of our capitalist structure, has been successful. You don't have an economy like that and lose an election. Your party doesn't. So the reality is, this press release from the Revolving Door Project is spot on. He continues. For instance, Senate Democrats have failed to question how Scott Bessent's experience of running a second-tier hedge fund with declining assets under management qualifies him to hold one of the most powerful economic policy making in the world, or how Chris Wright's experience as an unhinged plutocrat out of touch with scientific reality would qualify him to manage some of the world's most important laboratories, that's NIH and these other programs. Joe Biden's degraded public communications capacity played an enormous role in the party's past 4 years. While the Senate Democratic caucus is not exactly run by figures exuding vim and vigor, they should have learned from Biden's calamitously passive strategy. Yet, there is no indication of a shift. By all accounts, Senate Democrats are seeking strategic retreat wherever possible, convinced that opposition is a bad strategy for the opposition party. Ridiculous, right? Opposition is bad strategy for the opposition party. No, The opposition party is supposed to be doing just that, opposing that with those values that aren't American values. Every senior Trump administration official will have the discretion to exercise presidential authority on behalf of corporate interests in ways that will hurt ordinary Americans. Workers, consumers, breathers of air, every typical American is at risk from the most corporate captured set of nominees in American history. We have to realize our vice president was put there by the president or the owner of PayPal or former owner of PayPal. The plutocrats have a vice president in office. The plutocrats have a vice president in office that is likely to become president. After all, it's not like like Donald Trump is the healthiest of characters out there. He's an obese man that still continues to not eat right and live not the most sensible, physical life. So it would not be surprising. They were wondering about Biden becoming incapacitated. I was too. But Trump could easily become incapacitated, and the plutocrats will have not just a vice president, a new person, but someone that they put there directly. So where do we go from here? Donald Trump is no world-bestriding electoral colossus. Remember, Donald Trump has yet to win 50% of the vote of the American people. I want to repeat that because they constantly go out there and they would constantly have you believe that Donald Trump is this colossus. He won the election. It's a landslide. Folks, please remember, Donald Trump has yet to win 50% of the vote of the American people. He has never, ever. He won the popular vote. He won more votes than Kamala Harris, but he has yet to crack 50%. That means over 50% of the American population voted for someone else. And many of those who voted for him voted for reasons. We don't need to talk about that right now, but we know it was not a vote for him. It was a vote against, well, let's take that another day. Donald Trump is no world-bestriding electoral colossus. Even with substantial breaks, he has never received an outright majority of the vote and has generally been unpopular. Sadly, their latest defeat has left Democrats doubling down on an ostrich-like strategy of hiding their heads until Donald Trump goes away. But the MAGA movement will not go away on its own. It will have to be defeated. And that's because the MAGA movement is not a real movement. It's a purchased movement. It's a movement created by the indoctrination of many with a set of lies that ultimately will come crashing down, but not on its own. Because a lie can have a very long life. A lie can have a very long life. There are many historical lies in America today that has been detrimental to us as a society that is maintained and continues today. So the expectation that MAGA will just die on its own device is wishful thinking and is something Democrats better start realizing and doing something about. Defeating the MAGA movement does not require clever theories. It requires the hard work of opposition on behalf of the millions who will suffer at the hands of Trump's corporate cabinet. Democrats must find their inner populace and fight at all times, even in battles that they will almost certainly lose. There is never a better opportunity to find an opposition's voice than when a would-be populist president appoints a corporate-owned cabinet. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these folks that are playing an influential role in this administration wouldn't know what one of our brothers and sisters in Appalachia is going through, wouldn't know what our brothers and sisters in the ghettos and the barrios and downtown and uptown, they wouldn't have a clue. They live in a different stratosphere. But they're the ones intent on running the government, intent on profiting on all our backs, something that they do best. Parasitic behavior. All right, let's go ahead and go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
I wanted to point out that a lot of us voted for a party that said climate change and global warming wasn't real, and that a crime wave that wasn't real was real. And if we're evaluate things and we have the understanding that everybody's going to share in fixing this devastation through their change in policy rates, I'm kind of asking myself and asking other people, what is more dangerous, an imaginary crime spree or real storms that are destroying houses, ruining property, killing people? I'm a little more scared of the weather than I am the boogeyman.
You know, I don't think I quite heard it that way, but it's amazing, right? The things that kill people that have been causing deaths and destruction, or the things that the current the person that's going into office doesn't believe in, but the things that are imaginary is what they believe in. The belief that the crime rate is really high, it's a lie. The belief that climate change is not real, it's a lie. And unfortunately, we're in an alternate state of reality for the people who've been elected into office. And you know what, Patrick? I don't know that they don't believe. I think those people that are going to be in power, I think they know the truth. I think they're just so selfish that the truth doesn't matter, because by the time the massive damage occurs, a lot of them will be dead and gone. Your thoughts?
I'm pretty sure that most of them do understand and do believe in it, and that if they admit that belief, then it does damage to their party.
Exactly.
Just like if they admit to the danger that Trump offers, it would damage their party. That was evident when Mitch McConnell said enough is enough right after that riot. But in 24 hours, the party had a meeting and they changed their philosophy from impeach to stay in power. He also wouldn't be interested in buying Greenland unless he thought it was going to defrost and we were going to grow grain on it.
I love that.
Seriously, I'm pretty sure that's what they have in mind. He's fortified golf resorts to weather change in tide or water levels. So he'll say that he doesn't believe in it, but he fortifies all his properties for it.
That is so true. That is so true. Anyway, anything else, Patrick, before we move on to Brother Bard?
Yeah, one other thing to bounce off of Jack, who's a strong intellectual. He was a little critical of saying where's the Democratic Party at? What I've been seeing for the last 4 or 5 years, it kind of seems like the Democratic Party throws their hands up in the air when the Republican Party does something outrageous, and they're waiting for the populace to take notice, and the populace just never takes notice. I prefer if the party would get aggressive and start fighting them on it instead of letting them just look like the people they are. That's all.
Thank you very much, Patrick. All right, let's go to El Señor Bart. Come on in, Bart.
Well, the Democrat Party performed a coup to put Joe Biden in office, and then they performed a coup to get him out of office.
All right, stop. Remember I said we don't use our ear to lie, okay? There was never a coup to put. So go ahead and make your next point, but don't come on the show to lie, my brother. Go ahead, continue.
Donald Trump won in a landslide, 312.
Again, stop. Donald Trump did not win in a landslide. Donald Trump did not even win half of the population. That is a statement of fact. Because of the way the Electoral College works, he got substantially more electoral votes than did Kamala Harris. But Donald Trump, and folks that are listening out there, you have to understand that most people in America did not vote for Donald Trump. And as such, Donald Trump must not have the authority to make changes that most Americans didn't ask for. Continue, my brother.
He would have received 386 votes if there were 7 states that don't require an ID to vote. So
all right, stop again. And that's another lie. My friends, that's a lie that many on the right are trying to get. Oh, he would have won more votes if illegals didn't vote. Here is a statement of fact. These folks, when they tell you or talk about illegal voting, that is just that is simply a lie, people. Let's remember that if they actually had proof about that, you would have heard about it by now. Okay, any last comment you want to make, sir?
Yes, and Joe Biden had a man who was an admiral in the Navy dressed up in a woman's dress.
All right, that's enough. Have a wonderful day, my dear brother Bard. I mean, I am concerned about many of you sometimes. All right, Johnny, come on in.
Rome is literally burning on the West Coast, and you got people like Brian and Breitbart who talk nonsense to you.
Ridiculous, right?
The used car party, that's what they are. I've got 2 phone numbers, a Washington, D.C. phone number, 202, area code 202. 225-2631, 225-2631, and his backup phone number in case it's busy, area code 436-2720, 436-2720. And if you miss it, just play this program back on the archive at KPFT later on. Those 2 phone numbers belong to Representative of California, Ro Khanna. And why am I sharing his phone numbers with y'all? He is supposedly putting out feelers for he's considering to run for president in the next election cycle. So what I'd like you guys to do, listening out there, our fellow time travelers, to dovetail with what Brother Egberto has been saying this morning, is to remind Ro Khanna, I don't know offhand if he has taken or is currently taking any corporate duck or PAC money. Let's make the assumption that he's not currently, and that he is ready, willing, and able to campaign like Bernie did, based on the small, steady contributions of voters in general. Let's assume that. So when you leave a phone message on his machine, let him know that if he's considering to run for the presidency, that he should be unambiguous as to the criminality of Donald Trump and his administration, and do that on a weekly basis, and that when he goes to talk to the American people through the reporters, to do so not with centrist Democrats on his side, but with people that are progressives, like the so-called squad members. And I also suggested to him that he consult with Cenk Uygur, who is as left as I am, and who has actually run for the White House to put pressure on Joe Biden to quit early, which failed because Joe Biden was obnoxious and refusing to face reality, like so many centrist Democrats. There's a whole list of things I gave him to do, but those are the 2 basic big points that I would like for people to deliver to Ro Khanna, I can't be the only one. And if enough people leave voicemail messages to that effect to let him know that he has to consult with progressives like Cenk Uygur and remind the American people about Donald Trump's criminalities that occur week to week, and then also talk about economic issues, because that's what resonates with Americans, always has, always will. Talking about how we desperately need expanded and improved Medicare for all American citizens, and say all U.S. citizens. Emphasize that, single payer style. In addition to arresting Wall Street criminals and identifying white nationalists in our military and law enforcement, and reestablishing women's God-given right to autonomy and sovereignty over their own decisions to do with their health care and other things. These are the things that the American people want. 60 to 75% of the American people want these things, and Donald Trump is not about any of that. Therefore, he has no mandate. Never mind the fact that he doesn't have, he has less than 50% of the popular vote. He has no mandate. And he has no mandate for the things that he wants to do. So we need to remind Ro Khanna to remind the American people about this stuff, and do it right now. Don't wait until it's time to go onto the campaign trail. Remember, Donald Trump started campaigning the next day after he took the so-called oath of office. Remember that?
Johnny, here's the reason. It's not that he's campaigning. I don't even want to call it that he was campaigning. What he was doing was laying the narrative. He was programming people into believing these things as fact, and it starts in the beginning. And you just made I want to expand what you just said. First of all, it's not about telling Ro Khanna that solely. Every single Democratic or populist leader should be doing all of this 24/7. They should be talking about this. They should be writing about this. They should be interviewing with every progressive blogging platform all over the country. I should be able to pick up the phone and call Ro Khanna and say, Ro Khanna, I want you on Pacifica. You guys should be able to call Ro Khanna and say, I want you on. Ro Khanna and all these guys should be ubiquitous on the progressive networks. They should be ubiquitous on the progressive networks, just like Trump and all these other minions have been ubiquitous on right-wing radio. And the thing about it is, if everybody are ubiquitous on their platforms, right? Here's the thing. Americans will see that they have a real choice. They will actually see that they have a choice, and they can say, well, these progressive values is what I want, or these right-wing values of hate is what I want. I mean, they'll see choices, but what we have is a timid, and I won't call it a timid left. I call it a timid, moderate wing of a Democratic Party who is the leadership currently of the Democratic Party. And as the leadership of the Democratic Party, they're the ones who get all the mentions on TV, as opposed to the few mentions that those that really follow what the American people want, the left. You nailed it. If you ask on a policy per policy basis, Americans are progressive. They may not want to call themselves that, and that's okay. But the policies that progressives support, you item for item, you ask the American people, and they're all north of 60%, some of them as high as 88%. So we don't have to ask questions about whether the policies progressive wants is what America wants. That's what we know. And that's what we know. Okay. Now, Glenn Ryan is somebody on the chat right now that just says, why should they? You don't support progressives yourself. Take your own advice and call out all candidates who don't support progressive policies. I want to address Glenn Ryan because Glenn Ryan has a point. There are times that on my other programs, when it's time to vote, I would be right there telling or informing and suggesting to folks that they vote for maybe at that point in time not the most progressive candidate. As an example, Glenn, you know why I didn't support certain people. my responsibility, our responsibility to our fellow person isn't just about being absolutist. Some of us don't have the privilege to be absolutist. In other words, if there are choices to be made and they're final choices, one has to make the choice that is least going to be negatively impactful on those people of least power. Understand
so
that.
If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying to Glenn is that, are you referring to when you make a choice at the voting poll during the primaries versus the general election? Is that what you're referring to?
He's talking about the general. The primaries, the primaries, let me take my host hat off. At the primaries, I am very left. On the final, I am for whatever is going to be best for. And when I say left, I mean left because it's best for America. Now,
right.
when it goes into the final election, I have to look out for absolutely the least among us. What's going to affect the person the least? That is my responsibility.
Absolutely.
Okay,
so you have to engage your pragmatic gear.
Exactly.
Pragmatic. Go at some point.
We have to fight like hell. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And before I hang up, the reason why I mentioned Ro Khanna and his 202-225-263 phone number is I know he's not going to be the only one running for the White House. I hope that he's not the only one. But that he's the one that I'm getting a sense is going to be putting out feelers for this. So let's get the ball rolling now and let him understand that he has to go on the campaign trail right now, like yesterday. Because even though I said Donald Trump began campaigning, technically he was campaigning, although you and I both know he was propagandizing.
Exactly.
And he had the backup of right-wing media. He had the backup of right-wing media, and then the legacy media or the mainstream media, as you describe them, they don't challenge. So therefore, his mistruths go out unchallenged, and people take that and internalize that, especially if they're on the right wing and they're full of hate towards people like you and me.
Exactly.
So, Ro Khanna, start your messaging right now.
Thank you, Johnny.
And when he does it, to stay with the progressives, no centrist Democrats standing next to him. That's all I got to say. Bye-bye.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Brother Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, good morning. I'm going to be kind of quick. The last caller made a lot of sense, but we're about to see history repeat itself. I remember when Carter did all the work and Reagan took all the credit for the hostage release. Right now, Biden's doing all the work. And when they do sign an agreement, Trump's going to take all the credit. He's going to claim his threats of all hell breaking loose is why they signed it. Netanyahu may even delay signing anything till Trump's in to help him out. The other thing I got is just a quick statement. You know, they say power corrupts. The way I look at it is I see power as a bug lamp and the oligarchs as blood-sucking mosquitoes attracted to that lamp. So that's all I got. I know you're short on time. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Bruce. Now, when it comes to taking credit for Biden's work, if you notice, Biden is on a success tour right now. He's going to point out what his foreign policy did, hoping that the media is going to pick it up. MSNBC did. Some of the media is sort of ignoring Biden altogether. But the people that have to tell the story are the people that are just out there telling the truth. I mean, I think in as much as I am not a neoliberal, I have to look at what Biden has done in office and say that, and you know, I think we have to be pragmatic and honest with ourselves. I think Biden was the right person at the right time. And I'm not a neoliberal. I am a Bernie guy. I was a delegate for Bernie, etc. But I think no other person that was running at that time with Biden, I think could have gotten even more progressive person could have gotten the progressive policies that Biden was able to get through in his first 2 years. I think one of the things that we have to be is honest with ourselves and understand how politics work and give kudos where it belongs. I don't think if Kamala had gotten into the presidency at that time supporting Medicare for all, if I'm trying to think of the other very progressive person that was running, got into office, I don't think they would have had the ability, because of certain types of connections, to get some of the policies Biden got through because we didn't have enough real progressives either in Congress or the Senate. I sit down and analyze it in many different ways and just say, you know what? You don't have to be a neoliberal to say, or rather, saying that the guy did a fairly good job doesn't make you a neoliberal. All right, let's go to Augie.
Morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Yeah, I'm out of town, so I wasn't listening to your show. I was thinking about last week when somebody mentioned the song Imagine for the Democrats. And I was thinking for the Republicans, Iris DeBent's on Wasteland. And that's what
Oh, God. Augie, I sure hope. Let me tell you. I think it'll be Wasteland if we just sit back and let things happen. And I'll be honest with you, Augie, and you tell me what you think. There are times I want to say, sit back and just let the people who elected this guy feel the pain, because the pain that's coming from Donald Trump will affect them more than it will affect the folks who didn't vote for Donald Trump. And that's what a lot of folks don't understand. All the cuts that Donald Trump wants to make to support the rich are going to affect red states much more so than they will blue states, because blue states are the sicker states. People are more unhealthy in the red states, and the cuts are coming to Medicaid. People are less educated in the red states, and the cuts are coming to education. People depend more on social welfare programs in the red states, and those are the programs they're contemplating cutting. So not only are they going to hurt the poor and close to poor in the red states, but it will further depress the economies in the red states, because that influx of money that comes from the federal government into the red states create economic activity in the red state that otherwise wouldn't be there. So sometimes the bad side of myself would say, why not just let it happen? Let them see what they brought upon themselves. And then the humanity comes in and it says, no, first of all, we're all humans. And secondly, there are good people in every state. Why let the ones who voted inappropriately harm them? So I intend to fight. We should all fight. Continue, please, my dear brother Augie.
Well, like Bruce said a while ago, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
And I was thinking about the fires in California. They're blaming the governor and the Democrats. Well, that's a climate change problem. There weren't enough firefighters to fight that fire, especially that kind of fire. There was not enough water, no matter what the Republicans try to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a climate change problem. They'd never seen a fire like that went so fast. There was nobody, and they could have done anything about that, except just do whatever they can, hopefully, to save something.
The other part about it, Augie, is most of California's forest is under the control of the federal government, a federal government that refuses to learn, first of all, learn from the natives that control this land for millennia, who they knew about control burns long ago. They knew about doing certain things with maintaining the forest in the areas that they lived. You know, we never took some of those advices to do that. But secondly, climate change, a real thing that we're not doing that the people who are complaining don't want to do anything about. But again, we have to be out there telling that story. We have to be out there telling that story. We can't be on the defensive. And what I see right now, again, you tell me if you agree, but I see Democrats being on the defensive with these fires. I see Democrats being on the defensive on too many things where they should be on the offense, saying this is you causing that. When the inflation occurred, Democrats allowed themselves to own inflation. Inflation should be owned by conservative policies, but they don't. They go ahead and say, "Oh well, this is what happened. It was a supply chain. It was no." You need to tell the real truth about what caused it. Anyway, continue, brother.
Yeah, man, you're right. And like you said, some of the media doesn't cover what Biden did. And that's because it's owned by the billionaires, and they're
Right.
telling the media folks what they can put on the air or in the paper and stuff like that. And another thing, when Trump was president, he denied help to California during COVID, and any state or mayor that was Democratic didn't kiss his rear. He denied them vaccines and PPE and equipment. And he's the kind of president that's going to deny us Americans what we need unless we bow down to him. And we don't need a dictator. We don't need a king. But anyway,
and I hope they fight. But thank you, my brother. Appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, and like you said, we got to fight. Well, thanks for all you do, Egberto.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Welcome aboard, Alizarin Dreams, Glenn Ryan, Gayla Kunis, and Billy Allison Irwin. Thank you for being here in the chat. And let's go to Sister Patty. Come on in, sister.
Good morning. I think as we're fighting this good fight, keeping in mind the differences in our vocabulary, our definitions is important. And when we're talking to other people, we might want to make sure that I have the same definitions that we're using. I've been reading about yesterday how masculinity has been neutered by femininity. But when I look up the definitions, I think masculinity is wonderful. It's on the same page. But what they're missing is toxic masculinity, I believe, is the problem. So as we're communicating, I think that it's very important that we stay on the high road in our communication, fighting lies with truth, hate with love. And I think that's going to be easier to be able to feel that we're doing the best we can. One thing I've been thinking about is this fight like hell. And for me, if I think I'm fighting like heaven, it just reminds me of how I'm going to fight my fight.
You know, that's an interesting concept, fight like heaven. You know, you would think you would think that would be I don't know if people would grasp of that, but I agree with you that I love when you talk about masculinity isn't the issue. There are masculine, feminine, all of that is true. But toxic masculinity is what's dangerous. And believe it or not, that's a whole lot of what's being preached in many of our online chats for younger men. It's amazing that you brought that stuff about toxic masculinity up, because that is one of the things of the ways that the right has been trying to get to them. I also agree with you that that you have to, the approach is important. I think one of the things I try to do, and where I fail, I don't mind being called out. In fact, I want to be called out, is that a lot of the problems that we have today in our body politic, it's not the people that need to be blamed. Any one of us can be indoctrinated. I can be indoctrinated. Every one of us can be indoctrinated, but we also can be deprogrammed. And I think we need to keep our ire at those who are doing the indoctrinating. I saw a TikTok that impressed me yesterday. It said, you put a whole bunch of black ants and red ants in a bottle, and the two of them would all go about their business and do stuff. But if you shake the bottle, they start fighting among each other. And what the moral of this TikTok was, we need to learn how to fight the one who shook the bottle and not each other. And that is what I think, if we do, and I think it's a corollary on to what you had to say, we can probably be a bit more successful. Patty?
I agree with that completely. I was just thinking about, on my daily walk, I go past a fox den and I see the deer, the rabbits, and the neighbor's cat all walk past that fox den. Everyone
exactly.
knows how to keep their space, but live coexist.
Exactly. Thank you. Anything else, Patty, before I move on to Jeff?
That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so kindly, Patty. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Brother Jeff. Come on in.
Egberto, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you today on this nice cold morning?
I am doing fine. I'm looking at the screen here and it says 38 degrees. Ouch.
Oh, I know. I work outside and it's pretty nasty. And it's going to get colder. And,
yes, I heard.
I'm not going to go into the global warming on that one with you. But I want to talk about the masculinity the lady brought up a minute ago. I didn't catch her name. And
Patty.
I think that the masculinity is getting lost in the world or the United States nowadays with all these people, trying to push, equal rights for, or indoctrinating them in the school system about, if you're a girl and you want to be a boy, it's okay. I think that should be a family matter, instead of
Let me ask you something, Jeff. Do you have any kids in school right now? Any kids?
No.
Okay, here's why I'm saying that, right? And this is where I want to get folks to think. The thing about trans and gays and all these different identities there are most schools in this system that have not even one person that's trans or very few people that are gay, etc. Have you ever wondered why something like this has really cropped up as far as an issue when 0 something % of people are either trans or gay? First of all, I want to add it to this, but do you know that this is not really an issue, and there's not a whole bunch of folks trying to preach, I want to turn your boy into a girl or anything? Do you know that is a made-up story?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I think that there's a percentage, like maybe less than 1% of the population that is forcing it down people's throats.
Okay, what do you mean by force it down people's throats?
Well, making issues of it.
Because here's what I'm saying. Here's why it's an issue. It's not an issue if they weren't denied their rights, right? If they weren't denied existence, being able to exist as they are. Nobody denies your masculinity, right? And nobody tells you not to be masculine. You're a strong brother, right? Nobody tells you that you can't be a strong brother, right?
Nobody's going to tell me that.
Huh?
Nobody's going to tell me that.
There you go. Now, but there are people that would look at, if they see somebody that's different, a trans person, a gay person, they look at that with disdain, and they want to harm them, or they want, and all these, the only reason these things become an issue is to protect not only them but everybody. So I mean, people want to.
I think everybody has a right to be who they are. I'm not going to argue that point.
And nobody's trying to throw that down your throat. They're just trying to tell you, let them be.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that.
I know. Hey, here, Jeff, here, listen to me here. I got to go to another call, but disagree with me on this, but I want you to come back with at an earlier time tomorrow or the day after and come and let's talk about it, because you have a very important subject that I want to address, and you brought it up, and I think we need to address that. So could you, let's say, call another day and bring that up? Okay. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Dawn. And guys, I'm out of time, so I'm going to be short. Come on in, Dawn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good morning. Mine is very short and sweet, and thank you so much for your daily effort, and hopefully it's getting through to everyone. I just want to say going forward, for all the callers, anyone, support who you support. That's fine. We support one side, they support another side. But I'm just asking every one of us at this time, moving forward, just keep your eyes open and be ready to call out things that are wrong. It's not going to hurt anything. You're a Trump supporter, you like his policies, you like what he's going to do. But if something is wrong and you see that something is wrong and the policies that are being enacted are causing damage, be ready to call it out. Don't always just give him a clean slate and a thumbs up. The same for the Democrats. If people are doing something wrong, things happen that are wrong, we need to be ready to call it out, because otherwise we're not going to move forward. And I just ask everyone, right and left, come at everything from peace and hopefulness and kindness. I just hear a lot of very, aggressive or angry, voices on that side, the other side, on the right side, some on the left. But I think that moving forward, let's try to go forward in a peaceful way that we all care about, the planet, that we care about, that our families, and that we can all be healthy and safe. And that's what I would like to say.
Dawn, thank you for very, very much for that positive message. And you have a wonderful rest of your day, sister. All right?
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to David. Come on in, David. David, I don't have a lot of time, so 45 seconds.
Good morning. Just to follow that poor guy that was on 2 calls ago, I contend that people that have been brought up near pollution are going to have kids that have got chemical burns to them, chemical damages. And there are people that their little kids will be born with no sex. They'll be born sterile. They'll be born all kind of problems. And this whole issue, there's a book written about it 20-something years ago, and now all these kids are over 20 years old, and they're showing up in society with burnt sex organs by chemicals, by polluters. Now, Project 2025 is a group of polluters that don't want to get caught. And they'll blame the victims, blame these kids because they want another bathroom. They blame these kids because they want a plastic surgery. This is not a sex change. It's plastic surgery for burnt sex organs. And he's kissing up to the polluters. The polluters caused this problem. Polluters need to clean up their problems, and then you won't have kids born with burnt sex organs.
Thank you, David. I got to go to the next caller. Harry, come on in, brother. Harry. Thank you, David. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Brother Egberto. I'm going to make this short. After I finished listening to your show yesterday, I listened to Democracy Now! Because that show is edifying. Sonali Kalhaker, rising up with Sonali, was interviewed by Amy Goodman yesterday, talking about a lot of the people that lost their homes and some people that lost businesses and where they go and worship. And friends of hers, she's calling out Donald Trump, the climate change denier. She's doing her part, and she's doing just like you, Egberto, and Amy and our partners this morning. We'll talk about it with all these Santa Ana winds causing this fire to be as out of control as it's been, and she's just doing a good job. And she did mention, as Amy asked her about her home, that she said that her home has not been
gotta go, Harry.
Not on fire, but hopefully will continue to survive. Take care, guys. Have a good day.
Have a good one. All right, Brother Brian, come on in.
Yeah, the right wing is an actual reaction to what someone like Tim Walsh did. They called him Tampon Tim for a reason, He wanted to put tampons in a men's bathroom in a school, in which he did. So, men are born men, and women are born women. Do you not understand this?
Anything else that you want to add, my brother?
climate change is a man-made myth.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good day. Well, folks, climate change is not a man-made myth, and it's all. In fact, even the oil industry, who doesn't have any reason to support that climate change is real, has come out many times, many decades ago, pointing out that what they do creates man-made climate change. So, I mean, you can see with Brian what the right-wing media ecosystem has done. And it has done that to too many good Americans. Anyway, let me throw it to the studio.
Oh, I think that people are born male or female, not men or women. That's what happens when you grow up. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Jack, you got anything?
I'm no.
Jack says no, so go ahead and take it on home.
All right. There are a lot of other subjects that I really wanted to cover today that I didn't. The other one was titled, and now is the time for progressives to take over the Democratic Party. And I think, I'm sorry I wasn't able to go to this one in detail because my brother on the chat right now that is giving me hell, Glenn Ryan, would like what I have to say. Glenn, I would love to actually, I don't know if you listen to the 3 o'clock show, but I would love for you to call into the 3 o'clock show, not just type in, but call into the 3 o'clock show so we can have a civil discussion as to, your big gripe with what we're doing. I got to get out of here. But look, folks, remember the entire show with videos, etc. It's at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I want to thank you so kindly for calling. Love you all. And I mean that from the depths of my heart, whether you're on the left or the right. It's all about us being humans. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to